On this episode of Rob Christie Hike Across America, we visit the state of Mississippi, where we'll see some of the oldest cypress trees known to man, and visit a place the locals dubbed the Little Grand Canyon, which just happens to be our first stop. This place is called Red Bluff, but in my opinion, it was more of a yellow, but I guess it depends on how the light hits it. It could be red, orange, and sometimes even purple. It all depends on the time of day, I guess. Now, first things first, this place is not wheelchair accessible, but I do believe you can pull your car right up to the edge of the cliff. It looks like the driveway loops around. We just happen to park in the parking lot and walk up. That's pretty. Now, the views from the top are quite spectacular. You don't need to go down into the canyon to enjoy it. However, there is a hike leading down there that is a little strenuous and dangerous at points, but still worth it.
Purple down there and everything. I just give a shit.
Now, the trail leading down to the canyon isn't always a clear path, covered in roots and heavily eroded, kind of dangerous at points. You will have to use a rope to get down at the end, follow the terrain tracks, and head back upstream. At this point, Christy swears up and down we're lost, but I wasn't leading the way, so I'm confident that we're going in the right direction. We just hadn't gone far enough yet. Now, for this hike, I do suggest you bring an extra pair of socks, because you will get your shoes wet. It's inevitable. This waterfall was actually made out of an old quad or four-wheeler, depending on what state you're from. Looks like some other car parts, some rims, and whatever trash people have thrown down in the canyon. After roughly a 15-20 minute hike downhill and through the creek, we finally made it to the bottom of the canyon. And let me tell you, the views from down here were well worth the soggy feet. This place was very beautiful. However, there was one thing that did irk me quite a bit, and that it was trashed. I mean, there's old tennis shoes, cans and bottles, car parts. There was a trash can, but it didn't look like anybody had been using it. And it also didn't look like it had been emptied in about 3 weeks. All in all, this place was pretty cool. It just really needed to have some upkeep to it. But on a positive note, the locals here were super cool and very helpful in getting our way out of the canyon. Without them, we would have had to gone all the way back down the creek and back up the hill.
Okay.
So through all the sand here, right?
Through all the sand.
Okay. Looking for a way out of the canyon. That's how we came up. Down there. Like I said, trash everywhere. Got cars.
We did eventually find our way out of the canyon. Believe it or not, we were back on the road and headed to a place called Sky Lake, which does have some of the largest and oldest cypress trees known to man.
We're at our final stop of our vacation, and this is Sky Lake in Mississippi. Some of the oldest and largest trees in the world are here on this boardwalk.
Now, this boardwalk is wheelchair accessible. It's an out and back trail, just under a mile. They do have a canoe and kayak trail. It's about 2.5 miles long. You do get to see some stuff you don't get to see from the boardwalk. But there are supposedly alligators in this water, so kayak at your own risk.
dry.
So the trees in this swamp are called bald cypress. The ones they got here, 2 of them are the largest in the state of Mississippi, and quite possibly the oldest trees alive in the world today, ranging in around 2,000 years old each.
Probably is a gator down there, but probably needs some water.
It seemed like the state had hit kind of a drought. It is pretty dry down there. We really hadn't seen that much water yet, but by the time you get to the end of the boardwalk, the water is about 6 feet deep.
I'm just saying, it's really dry. I think there's a drought, but I ain't seen no alligators yet. Get some water too. Now it's starting to look gatory. So now it's starting to look gatory.
Now, I'm not sure that gatory is an actual term that people use, at least not around here. But I'm from Missouri, so I have a pretty good idea that people know what I was trying to get at.
There's something weird in the background making a noise.
Now, we did hear some weird howling going on in the background, something I never heard before. Wasn't sure if it was a bird, a frog, or a big cat. As we were leaving the parking lot, we did see a lynx cross the road in front of us.
This massive tree here. How wide that is. Wider than my car.
If you pay close attention, you hear me say that every big tree that we come to is wider than my car. But I drive a Kia Rio, just in case you were wondering. It's not that big of a car, but still, that's a pretty thick tree.
That's a pretty cool little boardwalk. It's free. Really quiet, hardly anybody here.
Now, the biggest tree they have here in the swamp has a circumference of about 90 feet wide, making it the largest bald cypress tree in the world.
See anything? Looking. Yeah, let's gator and snake watch.
I want to see a gator eat snake.
We kept looking, but we never did see any alligators. It would have been pretty cool if we did. It's a pretty good thing that we got our alligator fix in Alabama the day before.
And that tree right there is absolutely massive. Probably as wide as my car is long. What's that?
This one makes like a little heart at the bottom.
Yeah. A warped heart.
Captain America's heart right there.
Alright.
Now, this is one boardwalk trail. That is anything but boring. So if you do find yourself in the state of Mississippi and you're looking for something to do, I suggest this place. It's well worth the time, well worth the drive.
This is probably the biggest tree here.
Huh?
I think this is probably the biggest one here. I mean, that thing's wider than my car is long.
So if you find yourself liking this video, like, share, subscribe. We do have more videos on the channel and more on the way. And until then, keep on hiking.